Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Playeasy Warmup, the podcast where we dive into the stories, people, and places driving the sporting event and tourism industry forward. I'm your host, Carrie Shields. Today's episode shines a spotlight on an organization that has been changing lives and building community through sport for more than 75 years. I'm so excited to welcome Erich Groezinger, Membership Services and Program Manager at the National Wheelchair Basketball Association. The NWBA is the oldest and largest disabled sports organization in the world, serving athletes across youth, adult, women's, military, and collegiate divisions. Their championships showcase elite competition, powerful community, and generate meaningful economic impact for host destinations across the country. In this conversation, we dive into the growth of wheelchair basketball, the full athlete pipeline from youth to elite play, what it truly takes to host these events well, and the NWBA's active RFP for their 2027 Championship Series and beyond. This was an incredibly meaningful conversation for me. I learned so much. It was incredibly eye-opening, and not just about the scale of wheelchair basketball and the impressive events that the NWBA produces, but also about the responsibility we all share in making sports and events more accessible, inclusive, and welcoming for everyone. It was a really powerful reminder, just in recording this, of how important it is to keep educating ourselves and asking better questions. So, whether you work in sports tourism, events, or simply believe in the power of sports to change lives, I know you'll walk away from this episode with a new perspective, just like I did. I hope you enjoy. Welcome to Sports City, USA, Frisco, Texas. Ever wonder how a small town in North Texas became the epicenter of American sports? From the Dallas Cowboys to the PGA of America, Frisco is where champions train, fans gather, and unforgettable events come to life. In our new docuseries, Where Greatness Grows, hear the real story from the people who built it. City leaders, sports execs, and visionaries who turned Frisco into a powerhouse for tournaments and meetings. With world-class venues, championship fields, and top-tier hotels all in one place, Frisco is more than ready to host your next big event. Watch the story at sportscityusa.com.
You have so many of the professional leagues touching this community, whether it's Major League Soccer or the NFL or the PGA.
Failure was just not an option.
It's been really cool to build the business that we have here in Frisco.
It's one of those places where you want to be if you're into sports.
People are pointing here, and they're saying, I need to go there.
Erich, welcome to the Playeasy Warmup podcast.
Thanks for having me, Carrie.
Yeah, to start, could you give us a bit of your background and how you got involved with NWBA?
Sure. So I've been involved in sport basically my entire professional career. When I lived in Boston, I was working at local hospital. We were like doing sports cardiology research. So I was like in the medical field doing like clinical and academic research. So not really anything like I was doing today. But during COVID in a big city was kind of tough, and had always loved Colorado. So was able to get out here towards the end of 2020, and Colorado Springs ends up being the not only the home of the U.S. Olympic Committee and Paralympic Committee, but also of more than 20 different NGBs. So kind of fell into a role at USA Triathlon after about a year in Colorado Springs, and you've got into the Olympic and Paralympic movement, and it's kind of hard to leave when once you get in. So went from USA Triathlon over to National Wheelchair Basketball Association, which is where I'm at now. The role I'm doing now is more in a program management and membership management role. So it's a lot more engaging, and I get to use a lot more of my skills. And it's been a good transition over from USA Triathlon. So I really like where I'm at now.
Awesome. And yes, our team is also from Boston, so definitely all have Boston ties, but I hear only great things about Colorado Springs. And so for listeners who might be new to wheelchair basketball, can you share what the NWBA is, who it serves, and the role it plays nationally?
Sure. So wheelchair basketball, the NWBA we actually started all the way back in like the 1940s. It was the the sport kind of grew out of veterans coming back from World War II, and like looking for an outlet for athletics. A lot of we're, I think, the oldest Paralympic organization in the country. You Tracing our start back to, like I said, to the 40s. So we started off serving pretty much exclusively veterans, but as that kind of as that grew, as our reach grew, we now serve and call we junior athletes, women, female athletes. We still have a military division. Like we serve a much wider variety of disabled athletes in the country now. We have over 3,000 athletes across 40 different states. We have nine different national championship champions. We're now in there's 16 colleges that have varsity wheelchair basketball programs, and all still actively growing. The last 2 years, we've hit record numbers of teams and athlete participants. So yeah, we're trying to hit that mark of all 50 states covered. We still have room to grow, but we're hitting new marks every year.
That's awesome. And just from my research, I can fact check you and say it is the NWBA is the oldest and largest disabled sports organization
Yeah.
in the world. And so, what do you think has allowed the organization to not only endure for more than 70 years, but continue to grow?
Yeah, I think in terms of access, I mean, a lot of wheelchair sports, the wheelchair is a crucial piece of equipment, but um, outside of that piece, I think we're it's something that a lot of like kids that are unsure of, they're maybe recently disabled, or they're unsure of how to express themselves athletically. I feel like wheelchair basketball is the easiest kind of segue into that, and we do serve a lot of spinal cord injury athletes that maybe grew up playing basketball, that had an injury, that now are looking to get back to that sense of normalcy that they had prior to their injury. Basketball is that easy outlet. The mechanics, at least of shooting, remain pretty similar even post injury. So I feel like that is a natural draw for a lot of especially our adult athletes that are getting into the sport maybe later in life.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible to see. Even just we've been in this industry for close to 8 years, and just the awareness around accessibility and just the organizations that are and destinations that are putting more effort into making sports more accessible has just been incredible to see. And so, what originally drew you to the organization and to adaptive sports?
So I mentioned I came from USA Triathlon. USA Triathlon did, like, para triathlon was under the USA Triathlon umbrella, so they did service both sides of that. But I really didn't do anything with the para side at USA Triathlon. So this really is my first exposure to it. I was drawn to the not only to the leadership team, but also just like the work that I did when I was doing my research on the role, like seeing the impact that they've had on the community, and seeing like the upside that the organization was kind of in the middle of. So it was really drawn to the opportunity, and then now that I'm in it, seeing that the work that I do in the office then get paid out when we bring in a couple hundred athletes to an event or to a camp. It's really rewarding to see all that effort pay,
Yeah.
come to fruition with these kids, these athletes, coming from all over the country. And um, we like to say, like, our big events, our national championships, our big tournaments are like a family reunion. And I really didn't believe it until you see you see it, and people are just, if they're not playing a game, they're like, they're hanging out with their friends from around the country. It's a really cool atmosphere that we get to create and kind of live for those couple weeks in the spring.
Oh, that's awesome. And I think that's been a common theme. I've had the opportunity to talk to a bunch of organizations and just the community that these sports and organization build across these events are just so inspiring. And so, to get more into the details of the organization, you mentioned the NWBA oversees youth, adult, um, collegiate nationals, women's, and military. Can
Yeah.
you walk us through how that full pipeline works from youth to elite competitions?
Yeah, so it varies, city by city. Some of our bigger organizations and programs, like within our community, they might have they might have a team that is literally in every single division. Like they have, so our junior division is split into a prep and varsity, which is basically like before high school and then high school age. And then our adult division is split into D1, D2, and D3, which D1 being our highest caliber athletes and D3 being maybe our newer athletes. Um, and so, yeah, there's, I mean, I use Charlotte as an example a lot. They have um, an adult division team in every division. They have a prep and a varsity team. They have a women's team and they have two military teams. So they truly are like in that Charlotte area. They can really and people really from, I mean, there's people from like Virginia that, like women that that live in Virginia or even farther away that travel to Charlotte to compete on the women's team. So they really are like that one stop for everything. But some of the smaller programs, they might start like a group of dedicated parents, bring together a junior team, and then maybe that junior team, they start as a prep team, they graduate to a varsity team, and then maybe eventually down the road, they turn into an adult team, like as they progress through. If there's not enough to fill all those teams at the same time, it kind of stays with like a group of kids or a group of adults that are kind of, they play together and kind of move through the progressions of divisions, just naturally. So I've seen it all, but we're happy to be able to provide that home for all those different athletes.
That's interesting. So you're saying that Charlotte has really just spent the time, energy, and really fostered just the community within wheelchair basketball, and that is how they've been able to grow. And that is something you want to replicate within other cities?
I mean, not all. It's hard to completely replicate what Charlotte's done.
Yeah.
I know they started as just one junior team and a
Okay.
couple dedicated parents. They started as a prep team 20 plus years ago, and they grew that main group. Graduated or moved on to the varsity division, and now they're all adults and they play on the adult division team. But because of the interest and because of the work that they did in that community, they had the generation or the kids younger than them, they saw them, saw the kids above them playing wheelchair basketball, and then they formed a prep team underneath that first varsity team. And as they've grown and become more influential in that area, more wheelchair athletes have gravitated to the program to the point where they now have, I mean, I would guess they have close to 100 different athletes spread across those
Got it.
those different teams. That's not necessarily not able to replicate that in every city and in every program. It takes a lot of dedicated parents and volunteers and program managers to make a program that large work. But even on a smaller scale, having maybe an adult team. If you have adult and a junior team, you might have enough women between those two teams to form a women's team. Or if you're in a city with a larger military population, you might be able to pull in some veterans. Our women's division and our military division, we don't have a minimum disability requirement. So an able-bodied individual could get into a wheelchair and compete in both of those divisions. So it's a little bit more accessible for people out that the adult division doesn't allow for that level of accessibility.
Got it. That's super helpful to understand, and thank you for
Yeah,
breaking that
absolutely.
down for me. And so you guys run a ton of national events, and you've seen multi-million dollar economic impact in cities like Richmond and Fort Wayne. What does a successful host city partnership look like from your perspective?
So this will be my second year of going through this process. But speaking of Richmond and Fort Wayne, what they did really well is we rely heavily on a local organizing committee, and what both groups did really well is point in really everybody that's going to be that could be involved. So the sport bureau, the visitor bureau, a group of in both of those cities we had. In Richmond, we had Sportable, which is like an adaptive sports organization. In Fort Wayne, we had Turnstone, which is a rehabilitation hospital that has been involved in wheelchair basketball in the past. So we had really a whole community buy-in around both of those events. People helping with the logistics of travel and hotel management from the visitor bureau side and the sport bureau side, and then as well as people with some experience and exposure to wheelchair basketball or just sporting events in general, helping run the actual event itself. Making sure that the shot clocks and the game day operations ran smoothly.
Awesome. And both of those teams do an unbelievable job just in terms of that partnership that's so important. And I know that I'll give a shout out to Jasmine from Fort Wayne has just done an
Absolutely.
unbelievable job of making and educating our industry in how to host an event like yours. So um, you right now have a few RFPs open for your championships. And so what types of destinations and facilities are you ideally looking to partner with for those events?
Yeah, so right now sorry, I'll take a step back. In the past, we've done just like 2-year partnerships. Like we were in Fort Wayne and Richmond for 2 years, and I feel like what we're really interested in doing is expanding those like local partnerships to expand more than to go beyond 2 years to really invest in that community. I feel like 2 years isn't quite enough to. I mean, certainly we can have an impact, and we've seen in the past, just in those 2 years, starting new programs. Sportable did a great job of capitalizing in Richmond on the success and the eyeballs that we drew to that city, even for those 2 years. But going forward, we're looking for more of like a 3 to 5 year partnership, so we can really get settled into that community, have a lasting impact. Maybe even have somebody from our team like living or being boots on the ground there for solely focused around that event. In terms of like an actual like partnership, like I said, like a local organizing committee is super important for us. It's someone that has the relationships and ability to pull in people from all across the community, the sports bureau, the visitor bureau, an operations team. That's really helpful for us. We're a pretty small team here in Colorado Springs, so we don't really have the knowledge or the connections to make that happen. In these cities around the country. And then in terms of like a venue, we say for our big events that we need probably like 9 courts of space. We probably only need to use 7 of the courts at a time for actual competition. But the one thing about adaptive sports, especially wheelchair basketball, is so many of our athletes are coming to these events with 2 chairs. They're in a day chair, and then they also have their sports chair. So something that really helps with like the logistics of them, being able to go back and forth between the venue and the hotel is if they can leave their sports chair at the venue. So that's what we use, at least 1 full court of space just for chair storage in those cases.
And just to touch on the importance of just the long-term partnership and the local organizing committees, we just went through our first bid cycle for our conference next year, and going about the planning and having essentially an extended part of your team, boots on the ground, that we have with Ann Arbor right now for our 2026 conference and with Valley Forge last summer. It was so crucial in making the event a success, because no one knows that area better than that team does. And I just think it's so important when creating a successful event experience. And so you mentioned a few of maybe things that cities would not know with having the 2 wheelchairs needing to be able to store. What are some other big misconceptions destinations or facilities have about hosting adaptive sports events? And maybe what do you wish they better understood about the experience and the impact?
Um, a couple things like for our events, like I said, we're bringing in each weekend probably close to 500 athletes. Modern hotels maybe have five, ADA, fully ADA rooms per hotel. So a lot of our athletes, and I would guess that this is true in a lot of adaptive sports, they've gotten used to not being necessarily in an ADA room, but having the option, or for a lot of our athletes, like just providing a shower chair, even if it's not an ADA room, is a huge help, because a lot of them have the ability to transfer to that shower chair, even in a if the shower is not necessarily fully accessible. So that's a huge misconception. Like, when I have these, they're like, how many ADA rooms do we need? Like, we'll take as many as you can get, because there certainly are members of our community that really truly need a fully accessible room, but it's unrealistic to expect that every single one of them is going to get an ADA room when we have so many athletes in one city at a time. And the other big thing I can say, and we've seen the full spectrum of this, is the both the arrival and departure of teams is. So when they fly, a lot of these teams are flying into for these events. So the airport ends up being both the first impression and the last impression of a city. And so when you're dealing with, $5,000 sport chairs, and you look out the window and you see, someone just throwing your chair into the plane, that's the last impression of the city, is someone, mishandling your an expensive piece of equipment that's obviously important to your participation. So training and working with the folks from the airport as much as possible, educating them on how to handle the sport chairs, letting them know, hey, you might normally see 100 chairs in a day, you're about to see 500. So like giving them that heads up, making sure they might maybe bring in extra staff for those weekends, is a huge, like, just those little steps can go a long way in making the overall experience of our athletes in that city a positive one. It's like, if a chair is broken on the way there, that could mean that they don't get to participate. And even if the event was great, if they're going home with a broken chair, or they have like a bad experience, like that taints the view of the whole weekend, just with that one action.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. And that, I mean, I just feel lucky to be able to have these conversations, because it continues to open my eyes to things that I do not have to think about. And I think
Right.
that a lot of destinations and venues would feel the same, because I think it's so important, for us to continue to create an environment that is accessible. And so you touched on hotels, you touched on just the overall experience. Are there any venue limitations or things needed to enhance the experience for the attendees?
Yeah. So the other thing, I would say, this is another thing that probably most people aren't aware of, or most people aren't thinking about, is like bathroom accessibility. The getting in and out of stalls is obviously a little bit more of an issue. Again, most bathrooms maybe only have one or two accessible stalls. So thinking about ways to mitigate that. And the other issue is urological supplies. So a lot of our athletes that have either is part of the disability, or they have high level of vertebrae or spinal cord injury, need to have catheters or catheter supplies within the bathrooms, especially within the accessible stalls. So that's another factor that goes into planning and having truly a successful event, and a positive experience for those athletes.
And as you're getting these bids, coming through your desk, is there anything that makes a bid stand out to you?
Um, I mean, I would say like a lot of the bids that that we get, I've had multiple conversations with them ahead of the bid actually being submitted. So, um, we've talked about, I kind of give them an idea of like what are the key things that we're looking for. So, like I meant the LSC and like the ability to handle or indicate that they have these certain planning pieces in place ahead of time. That's a huge thing that's attractive to us. Just knowing that um, obviously these events are a heavy lift, but the more that they are able to like, clearly indicate that they're going to own and put on their plate ahead of time, um, obviously is an attractive feature to us. The other big thing is um, uh, like the convenience of getting in and out of a location. Uh, you know, Airport destination. The hub. Airport hubs. Like those are huge. Even if it's not in that city, if it's like within 30 minutes to an hour, like those are the big things that are going to be selling points to our members. Just like I said, majority of our members are going to have to travel several hours to get to these events and potentially fly. So the easier it is for them to get in and out of a location, the easier it is to sell for us to go to our members and say, hey, this is where we're going for the next couple of years.
Awesome. And as we look ahead to 2026, you have the collegiate championships at the University of Arizona. And so,
Mhm.
what can hosts and fans expect from that event?
Um, the folks at Arizona are doing a great job. I don't think they've had a chance to host in quite some time. So they're really excited about the opportunity. They have I think it's called the McHale Center. It's where the University of Arizona basketball team plays. So they're going to be in a big college size arena and stadium for the event. So yeah, I think the event's going to be pretty exciting. I know last year they did a really good job at University of Illinois, and I think there's a little bit of one-upsmanship going on here. Like University of Arizona was there; they saw everything that Illinois did right, and they want to take it that next step further. So I'm excited to
That's
see
awesome.
what Peter and his team have going on there.
That's awesome. And what else are you looking forward to going into 2026?
Um, yeah, so we've had a chance like last year we had a chance to collaborate with the NCAA. The women's Final Four. We had some of our female Paralympians were present. They did a panel on Saturday before. So this year the women's Final Four, NCAA Final Four, is the same weekend as our college championship. Their event is in Phoenix, and ours is in Tucson. So we're hoping
Okay.
to have some collaboration there between those two events, just being that we're in relative proximity to each other. Um, and then for the first time in a long time, our women's military championship is actually going to be here in Colorado Springs.
Oh,
So selfishly, part of me is just excited that I'll be able to sleep in my own bed for that event. But I'm also excited. We're going to be at the Olympic Paralympic Training Center here, where literally where like the Olympians and Paralympian our Paralympic team trains. So I think that's going to be a really really cool opportunity for our women in our military to get to play on those courts and be on that campus for that event.
that's awesome. And I don't know if you noticed my hat, but I have the Final Four championship hat from
Yeah,
Tampa. So I was
yeah,
there and I was able to see the athletes and the panels, and it was just incredible. And I will be in Phoenix, so I hope
awesome,
as
awesome.
well that
Yeah,
we can make something happen there. And so
absolutely.
when you think of, I mean, you've been in this position for over a year now. Are there any moments that really stand out to think, whether it's made you happy about what you do or just really show the impact of of what your organization is making?
Yeah, I would say it was actually really early on. I started in April, and so in early June of that year, I guess it was in 24, we went. The past couple years we've done a USA Basketball has it's like a tournament championship type thing in June, and they've had like a wheelchair basketball division the last couple years. So we had four teams there. and we would play 2 games, and then we'd have an hour off. And so during that hour off, some of our athletes would kind of give up their sport chair and allow some of the USA basketball participants to, you know, get in a sport chair and kind of, shoot around and roll around and kind of see what it's like to play wheelchair basketball. Um, and so that was a really cool opportunity, a really cool experience to kind of see how those kids interact and see how, um, see that the impact and see how they were able to kind of, be that coach almost to these USA basketball athletes. And credit obviously to USA basketball. They gave us like court number 1. They put us front and center. Like basically everybody that came into that venue had to walk past our court. And you would I was just sitting there watching our games, but you would see the parents and the kids walk by, and they would almost all of them would slow down or take a half second and just watch a couple minutes of the game as they were making their way to the court that they were supposed to be playing at. So it's very, very
Wow,
cool to see
that's awesome.
that atmosphere.
Yeah, and why? And you mentioned USA Basketball and then a partnership with the NCAA. Why are those partnerships so important for your organization?
Yeah, so the within our community, like everyone knows NWBA, like we're kind of at the limit there. Like there's not really that many more people that we can be exposed to. Like that community is aware of what we're doing, and we're probably close to the limit of growth within that space. But avenues like USA Basketball, avenues like the elevating our championship in partnership with the NCAA, all of those opportunities are chances to put wheelchair basketball and NWBA in front of new populations, in front of people that maybe aren't aware of what we're doing, aren't aware of our league, and getting new fans, getting new eyeballs on the sport is how we are hoping to continue that trend of growth that we've seen the last couple of years.
Awesome. And for anyone, I know you guys have opportunities for volunteering or just being a part of some of your events. Could you speak to some of those opportunities and how people could get more involved?
Yeah, I think the best way for if someone's looking to get involved with a wheelchair basketball program is to start locally. So, like I mentioned Charlotte, but I mean there's like I said, there's 40 states that we have teams across the country. So I would start locally, like see what teams or what programs there are locally, because all those teams are running their own events or practices or games. There should be plenty of opportunities at that level for people to get involved if they're looking to get involved. And then if they're looking to, if that's not enough, if they want to get do more, we have opportunities like you can become an official with the NWBA. So like we're always looking for new officials. We have do our own training. It's obviously once you're in, it's a paid role. You would have the opportunity to either locally or nationally travel around and officiate wheelchair basketball games. If you're in like the medical profession, if you're looking for involvement on that side of things, we have a role called classifier. So within pretty much every para sport, athletes are given a classification based on their disability level. So same thing with wheelchair basketball. So classifiers in our sport is how athletes are given that classification number. Typically, the big classification event is our nationals event, our national championships. But we do have events throughout the year where that are big, like bigger events that might have 20, 30 teams, where they'll bring in a couple classifiers just to get everybody classified in the middle of the season instead of waiting until nationals. So yeah, a lot of opportunities. And we even have people that are that just like love being scorekeepers. And we have someone we have people that come and travel to our national championships every year just to be that that dedicated scorekeeper at on that championship court for those weekends. So yeah, there's plenty of opportunities to get involved locally, nationally. Whatever fits your skill set, your desire best.
Awesome. And we'll be sure to share all of that information with this episode. And so I know I've mentioned a few times, you do have a few RFPs coming up that are closed. So for any destination that is listening, is there anything that you want to make sure they know before your bid cycle closes?
Um, I mean, I would say just reach out to me. Like um the I there's not anything in particular. Like, we're pretty flexible. Like, if you feel strongly about bringing your event there, we could probably make it work, assuming like the baseline criteria are in place. We're happy to work with any destination. Obviously the biggest thing being like the venue. As long as the venue's there, like, and we feel like we can fit our event there, we're probably gonna be able to make something work. But if there are any like uncertainties or specifics that you like, if there's like one piece that you think might be missing, I would say still submit, or at least reach out to me, and we can kind of see if we need to work around it, or see if there's a way to make it work. Like, we're always open to have those conversations. We don't want to say like, oh, like, if you don't meet all these criteria, it's an absolute no. So yeah, we're happy to make things work if that's what it takes to bring an event to an interested city.
Awesome. And you guys have been active users of ours at Playeasy for a while now. Could you speak to how that has helped your overall bid process and connecting with host destinations?
I mean, so I started the role in the spring, and I didn't really get to meet anyone until I was at Teams in Anaheim. But we were up on Play Easy, I think midsummer last year. So I was already starting to have the conversations with different visitor bureaus and sports bureaus even before Teams. And I think, that the access that Play Easy provides is um, it's so important. I mean, I know, like, um, the moment I just published our 2027 RFPs, whatever, maybe end of October, early November, and like within a week, I'm already talking to like 4 or 5 different people that hadn't been even on our radar prior to that. And I guess I was probably a little late to get our RFPs up. I probably should have had it up before Teams, but even it was even conversations that or cities that I hadn't talked to at Teams that I was now talking to through Playeasy. So yeah, definitely a very important resource that we use heavily every year, or every RFP cycle.
That makes us very happy to hear. And we hope this year, as a Michigan fan, we found out that you'll be joining us in Ann Arbor next summer.
Hopefully,
But
hopefully.
Eric, this has been such a pleasure. And the reason we started this podcast was because there's only so much that you can put on a profile or an RFP. And so just being able to have long form conversations with groups like you is so meaningful. And I just really appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you guys having me on, and obviously appreciate you guys having created this resources that we use so consistently.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Eric. Thanks,
Absolutely.
everyone. Till next time. Bye.
See you guys.